All right, John, thanks for joining us. It's Suraj from Final Say here.
How you doing, man?
All right, today we're going to be quick Q&A. Okay, so first question. Growing up as a Wolves supporter, well, for me, growing up as a United supporter, there was always certain players that we were involved in that were exciting or sort of captured our imagination. Is there a particular player for you that growing up you sort of, it doesn't have to be an iconic player as such, maybe even underrated? So if I give you my example, obviously we have people like Cantona and stuff that were exciting to the club. But as my personal best, or my favourite player was actually Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So I think he symbolised so much about Man United that was like respectful and almost like football. So it wasn't just the fact that he scored like 4 goals in 11 minutes in one game, or that he kept going or scoring goals for fun. It was also the fact that he was a perfect role model, came off the bench, always had the right attitude, used, completely unselfish for the team, did whatever it was, necessary at the time. So for me, I think he symbolised so much more. And then obviously he got the Champions League treble win. So, sort of capitalised kind of player that he was, and he gets all the just rewards. So for you, John?
Easy for me. Steve Ball. To be fair, I think a lot of people know him, especially older generations. But for me, he's born and bred Wolverhampton, scored 300 plus goals.
Wow.
Debut for England, scored against Scotland.
Nice.
But the difference was, it wasn't like, he was like our best scorer. He was our captain. He was our role model. But he was from the town, and he didn't. It's not like nowadays. He walked around the streets.
Homegrown.
I remember meeting him in a car park in the middle of town.
Nice.
He'd gone up into town to pick up a few bits, and we just walked back to the car park with him. Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of difference.
That's amazing that you can actually meet your sort of idol.
Yeah. It was just
be able to just walk up to them sort of willy-nilly almost, and it's respectable. Absolutely.
It's a weird thing, like even now he still goes to away games in the away ends.
Amazing.
It's not even like a box thing. He's just one of us.
Amazing. Big shout out to that player there. In terms of iconic moments or moments that sort of resonate with you, it's an easy one for Man United. So probably most fans my age growing up watching it would say the Champions League. That winning moment, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's toe gets on the end of that ball, it goes into the roof of the net, obviously, and I think many United fans would probably share that same moment as the be or the pinnacle. For you, in all due respect, with whatever you've won and whatever the rest of it is, what is actually the moment that has actually, for you cherish and will remember? And it doesn't have to be you winning a trophy. It can be anything you want. So what is it, the one memory that will always live with you, that resonates?
I'm going to caveat this, because from Nuno onwards, everything's been incredible. Dominating the Championship, getting promoted, holding our own in the Premier League, getting Europe, semi-final FA Cup, signings that I never thought would be there.
It's been
that's
big
all
journey,
been amazing. But my most iconic was 2003 playoffs. So before that, I think the season before, we lost 11-point lead to West Brom, which absolutely killed every Wolves fan inside. Being 11 points ahead of your rival and then losing that. But before that, in the late 80s, early 90s, we were just a bad team. Division 4, Division 3, Division 2, yo-yoing.
You've been through it all.
Literally every league we've watched. But 2003, we ended up 5th in the league. 99% sure it's 5th. And it's one of those things you're not in the running for the top 2. You kind of you're dropping games, dropping points, but got into playoffs. First playoff game, we go 1-0 down. Same old thing. Playoffs are difficult. We come back and beat Reading, get to the final, and it was just ridiculous. Within 40 minutes, we were 3 goals up. And I can literally remember it now. Me, my best mate, Wolf, our dads, my uncle. It was one of those days where everyone sits in the house and watches it.
Yeah.
And this is why I caveat it, because Nuno and all this era is we're building momentum. This 2003 win, this was, it was never on the cards. And it was just, I literally remember the joy today.
You always have a shout when you hit a playoff. That's the thing. You could be the bottom team coming into it, but playoff
playoff
situations
mental,
and
you
such.
know. And the thing is, playoffs with a lifeline, because you know what the championship's like. It's just
as long as you get in, you've got a
well.
chance. You can change your whole mentality once you're there.
But yeah,
Amazing.
I'll never forget that day. It was insane.
That's awesome. A question that's probably quite tricky considering everything that's going on at the moment. But where do you see, I guess, Wolves finishing next season? I guess in relation to myself, I'd say with United it's a tough one. Our range or our scope, I'd say, is anything from 3rd to 5th.
Yeah.
I think we should be aiming for potentially 2nd or 3rd. And I know that's kind of tough because really we should be challenging, but every year we sort of on paper look good. I don't ever think we've got like the most terrible team. I think recently in the last couple of seasons we've been a bit exposed and had to use youth, but I think it's part of the setup that Ole wants to do anyway, which is incorporate the youth, make those win. We knew we needed to get to 2 or 3 windows, so as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's kind of going accordingly in a sort of up and down motion. But I think we will hopefully finish 2nd or 3rd next season, and if it's not a great season, 3rd to 5th. How about yourselves?
I'd like to say best of the rest, so kind of sitting on that 6th, 7th mark. We did it last season. We're kind of aiming right now to be hitting that.
I mean, it's not over this season.
You know what it's like. You've seen teams multiple times have a couple of good seasons where they look like they're challenging for top 6, and then if the investment doesn't come in, if that one player doesn't come in, you sell a big player and don't replace it. But to be honest, I'm trusting in the Fosun, like the group. They want Champions League in 3 years, they said. We are having a good shout. We've got players that I never thought we would ever have. We're getting youth players coming up.
You look like a fantasy team. In all fairness to yourselves, you look. You've got continental players all across the pitch now, as well as your sort of homegrown and English lads.
But you know, it's just one of those things. If we keep the momentum going, I just think we're waiting for one of the top 6 to drop out. And I'm looking at your boys being that one place because
we'll see. I think at the start of this season, well, midway through this season, you're probably totally fine. I think with the addition of Bruno Fernandes and just little bits and pieces coming together, this coronavirus has enabled all those players that were injured to sort of come back, and now people have to consolidate. So,
like, you guys have been playing without some players as well, like Pogba and stuff. Like, you know, that's a big gap.
Supposedly our best player, and we played the whole season pretty much without him. I think four. I don't know what he's had actually for us. So yeah, we're managing. So if we do replace him, or if he does decide to show up for us, I think it's fair to say like we should be a lot better than what we are, and we're heading in that direction. And people like Bruno Fernandes are sort of starting to take us there. So